appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all. I've been very, very excited about the opportunity to speak to such an amazing group of women. So I am going to actually share my screen here. All right, great. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much again for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I'm here on the Career Growth Summit to talk a little bit about positively impacting communities and succeeding as a woman in tech, and how it is actually possible to have both. So I'm very happy to be here, and I thought I would actually launch this conversation by sharing a little bit about my journey. So I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to share a little bit about, well, how did I get here? A little bit about some of my career transitions and growth, and then some lessons learned specifically about how you can succeed in social enterprise. All right, so I'm going to start with my journey from the beginning. So my parents immigrated to Seattle when in their 20s, and I was born there. This is actually a picture of me and my brothers. My mama, she used to make all of our Halloween costumes. But I grew up, we're the first Chinese family in this neighborhood in Seattle. It was a great experience. I went to University of Washington, so I'm a proud Husky for anybody out there who knows of that school. What was interesting is I graduated from University of Washington with an accounting degree and an information systems degree, and actually started that journey at Ernst & Young in auditing, but quickly found that technology was something that was the information system side of me was something that was much more interesting. So I switched over to management consulting, and for about a decade, spent time consulting basically the Fortune 500 on how to leverage new and disruptive technologies to move their businesses forward. So this is everything from CRM that tells you how old I am now, all the way to things like data warehouses and federated data systems. So that was amazing. But probably one of the things that was most amazing of all was that I met my husband there, and my journey hopefully will begin to make sense soon as to how I landed where I am. But my husband, he's a zero generation immigrant from Mexico, the first person in his family to go to college, self-made, supporting his family. And we both, honestly just felt incredibly fortunate that the opportunities that work had really granted us. And so it was a pretty amazing place to be. We got married. It was wonderful, a joining of two cultures. And not too long after after we got married, I decided that I loved helping other companies, but I really wanted to have some ownership myself. So I took on some technology executive positions at a couple of public companies because I had a background working in the industry vertical of communications, media, and entertainment. And I kept finding myself wanting to have more and more effect on change. So started with owning, owning IT budgets and running with all of the kind of systems architecture and application architecture integration. Then I was like, what if I took the leap to go into a startup? So I went into the Internet of Things and co-founded an IoT SaaS startup. Since has been acquired, actually after I left. This was such a long time ago that they still called it machine to machine. So I just put that out there for fun. But the idea being, again, how do you leverage these really interesting and disruptive technologies to move things forward? So it was great to make that transition from consulting to public company leadership to kind of starting from the ground up, co-founding a startup, and that was wonderful because it gave me an opportunity to work in product, sales, and many other areas that I hadn't traditionally been involved in. But somewhere along the way, I had kids. So there's my boys that are in the middle with their cousins, my little daughter, and my husband and I just really recognizing what life had sort of afforded us. Really began to try to instill in our children, how do you contribute to your community? How do we really, we deeply believe in being kind of global citizens. How can we, basically get our children engaged. And so we started everything we could on the weekends, from volunteering at food banks to, going to shelters, things that we felt were important to demonstrate, but it just wasn't feeling very fulfilling. We finally got to a place where we said, well, maybe this should be one of our full-time jobs. How can we actually really kind of walk the walk of being involved in the community as much as we would like to be? So not too, long after as our children were growing up, my father suddenly passed away. And, despite the fact that our startup that I had co-founded had just reached, a huge milestone in 10 million ARR, it was time to move on. I was like, you know what, life is too short. If we want to affect change, we have to do it now. So that afforded me the opportunity to join Sama, and I'll share just a little bit about Sama and our journey there of how of a social enterprise, and then I'll share some lessons learned. So what I found in Sama, and this is a picture of our founder and I, was that the mission of this company resonated so much with our own personal experience. It was really about this concept that talent is distributed equally, but opportunity is not. And there are so many talented, incredible people out there, but what they really lack is access to work. And that resonated so deeply with me because, honestly, working and success, a lot of it has to do with working hard and skill sets and competence and good judgment, but some of it has to do with luck, being at the right place and the right time. And so this idea of really leveling the playing field, Sama means equal in Sanskrit, was something that appealed to me really deeply. So I'd love to share a little bit more about the history of the company before jumping into lessons learned. So where this really all started about the effects was really about the effects of poverty. I might have mentioned this as I mentioned, my husband was a zero generation immigrant, and he grew up in the projects where there wasn't enough food to eat. And so this kind of idea, obviously, about global poverty and really about how pretty much every major ill in the world, whether it's maternal deaths, clean water, sanitation, are really the effect of poverty. And that there are so many young people out there that don't have that opportunity. So this is actually one of our employees. He's still an employee of ours, and his name is Ken. But super bright young man, grew up in the slums of Mathare, and graduated, just getting a scholarship to a great high school, graduating kind of top of his class. But the challenge is that there weren't any jobs to go to. So if you don't have enough income to go to university, then you end up in the informal economy. So this is actually a picture of the Mathare slums. This is not an uncommon job, but he was brewing changa, which is moonshine, basically. And super smart young man, but lacked the opportunities because there just was a scarcity of jobs. And if you don't have the right connections, you don't have the right network, it becomes particularly difficult. So there has been a lot of, many of you probably heard of the organization CARE, and this is just a picture of care packages. So care packages actually started back many years ago with back in World War I, around the idea that post-war people lacked food and necessities. So the care organization began sending these care packages out to people during this really incredibly difficult time. And that kind of trend of giving aid obviously is continued. So little known fact, but $1 trillion worth of development related aid has been transferred from Western countries to sub-Saharan Africa, 1 trillion in just the past 60 years. But the challenge is that despite all of that aid, the GDP has largely stayed unchanged. In fact, 40%, and these are actually recent World Bank and OECD percentages, 40% of the African population still lives on less than $2 a day, and 2/3 live on less than $3.20 a day. So consequently, the number of core has risen by 50% at the US $1.90 line, and it has doubled at the higher lines in the past 3 decades. So this is a very real challenge, the need to the challenges of poverty. So this is really where Sama and the concept of Sama really came from, which is instead of giving aid, let's give work. Let's create financial independence and job skills for communities to flourish. And this idea really resonated with me. And going back to the belief of talent is distributed equally, but opportunity is not, it's that the lack of access to jobs is really challenging. So our focus is how do you find how do you support people in marginalized communities who've got the greatest barriers to work, and to create not just job training for them, but create actual jobs. So this is really this concept of business and social impact, where as we grow as a business, we sell work to clients. Then we do a purposeful hiring model to both train people into the digital economy and then hire them at living wages, salaried in the formal economy. And I'll just explain a little bit about how the model works. So this was the concept behind Sama, right? Pre-Sama, limited work experience, underemployment, and living in marginalized communities. So many workers not having held a job in the formal sector and living below the poverty line. Then what we do is we provide training and support. So digital literacy, AI, I'll talk a little bit about what we do in AI, soft skills, job readiness, financial literacy. And we ultimately invest quite a bit in training to basically position people so that they can join as full-time employees. As they are employees, they're employed at a living wage for all the locations that we're in. With benefits, medical, vision, dental, mental health, etc. And the key thing here is that people get work experience. So when you don't have a job, it's very difficult to get a job. So the idea is we can then build somebody's CV and create a sustainable lift out of poverty by creating job skills and job experience. And we've done a ton of independent audits. We've actually done a randomized controlled trial as well with MIT. And basically the headline here is that post-Sama individuals see an up to 4 times increase in their income after 3 years. So a couple of things that I just think are worth noting here. One is that one of the demographics or groups of people that have the greatest barriers to employment, especially in the areas we work, are women. And so we've always made it a part of our mission to bring women into the workforce, and in particular the digital or the tech workforce. So I'm really proud to say that 53% of our company identifies as female. And one of the reasons that was always part of our mission focus is that when women succeed, communities succeed. So that could be a whole topic in itself. But it doesn't stop there. I think the key to diversity, and I truly believe that a diverse company, you want different opinions, that actually makes for a greater, better company. So we've tried to carry that philosophy forward all the way through to the top. So 48% of our senior managers identify as female, 57% of our executive team. And I'm still working on making that last number as high as the rest of the numbers. So 29% of our executive team identify as people of color. All right, so this is just a quick note. I'm realizing I'm talking a little long, and I wanted to open up some time for questions and lessons learned. So this is just a few stats on some of our impact. But how does this tie into technology? Well, we are an AI company. So we help the world's leading companies who are building state-of-the-art AI in computer vision and generative AI. We help them accelerate their model development by providing a data annotation, curation, and model evaluation solution. And that's really powered by our technology platform. So we've got a team of data scientists and ML engineers and software engineers who build a platform. And then we have a human-in-the-loop workforce that we hire through this impact model. So I wanted to kind of share, well, that was the journey. So how did we get here? How is it possible? Is it possible to succeed in both technology and beyond that technology and a social enterprise that has impact? I wanted to share some lessons learned with you all. So the first thing I think we want to acknowledge, it is possible, yes. But running a double bottom line or triple bottom line business is actually really hard. You have multiple objectives that you're running to. So if we were, kind of just a software company or just a services company or just a company with, a financial goal, honestly, things would probably be easier. And it comes down to we have a commitment to our hiring model. Well, as technology gets more and more advanced, what that means is we need to invest more in training. And these are the kinds of decisions that, in our case, we have to make. But I think in any double bottom line business that you have to keep in mind. The second is that the mission and the business model need to be integrated. So my strong view in this is that if you're going to have a successful social enterprise, they need to be tied together. One, in particular, the social mission, it can't really be an add-on. And you can really get to that amazing state to when your business model and your operating model from an impact standpoint are tied together. So for Sama, what it means is that we're never going to be in a race to the bottom, meaning trying to compete solely based off of being the lowest cost provider. In fact, it's the opposite. We need to be the premium provider, being a great partner to our customers, showcasing the value of our technologies so that we can, be in a place to where we can be at a premium place, support our employee and living wage model. I believe that everybody deserves a seat at the table. So I think one thing that's really important, in particular in our model, is that everybody deserves an opportunity to participate in the digital economy. It's not subject just to the Silicon Valley. Another item, I would say this, regardless of social enterprise or not, hire people smarter than you. That is pretty much all I've done in my career, besides trying to take to get to this position, working in many different departments. So running technology, product engineers, sales, you name it. But I think one of the things that's very important is smart people come up with better ideas than you can ever come up with. Diversity makes better management. So I've been in a lot of companies where they hire people from the same background with the same experience. I've actually found that people who've got differing backgrounds can create incredible insights. If you truly want to be disruptive, that diversity can actually make you a much, much more powerful company. To measure your impact and your output. So I do really believe measure what matters, but if you don't measure it, especially from a social impact standpoint, it's very difficult to hold yourselves accountable. So you got to measure, be transparent, just like you would on financials on the impact side. And then last but not least, find partners and investors who align with your business objectives and your social model. You got to find people that get you. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that I've learned throughout this process, is that it's incredibly important to really have that visibility, because if you want to be successful, running a double bottom line business is a little bit different, and it's really important to find the investors who understand that.